There, that's my intro. What's going on? Hope you guys are doing well out there. You clicked on this title because it said Last of Us 2 review, or whatever the hell I decided to call it, right? So you clicked on it and you were like, all right, what's this guy's opinion? Probably don't even know who I am, and that's fine. I don't expect this to get a lot of reviews. I don't expect this to get a lot of clicks, a lot of likes and dislikes. I don't expect this to really take off, but I do want to talk about it because it does need to be talked about for me and my sakes. This game has been a very passionate thing of mine. It's been a very close thing of mine for a while. I have been watching so many reviews. I have been watching so much gameplay. I've been watching so much story that it has just been a game that I cannot stop talking about, especially to myself. And when people aren't happy about something, or people are happy about something, they tend to be very passionate and want to talk about it and speak freely to spread a message that they want to get across. So before I get into this video too deeply, because we are going to be talking to this in a very deep discussion, that this is going to have spoilers. So I do recommend you to not watch this video if you do not want to have spoilers in this game. People are very sensitive about this game, and I know that they are because they've been waiting 7 years for it. So I encourage you, please do not watch this video if you don't want to be spoiled, because a lot of it's not even going to pertain to you. I go into some deep diving shit into this review that some people may have not even wanted to talk about or do the work for it because it was so mentally draining and exhausting to them. I've put so much thought into this game and put so much work into this game that people are going to realize that even when they listen to this, they're probably going to hear things that they haven't heard before in another video that they watched and went, whoa, this person said this and this person said that. There's gonna be things that even after I get done putting this video up, that people are gonna realize and say and go, oh my God, I missed that, or holy shit, how, wow, oh dude. Because I know even after I'm done with this video, it's going to happen. I'm gonna probably say something that I should have covered, but I'm gonna miss it completely. And I'm not gonna say, because I'm not that kind of guy, you know, drop a like, subscribe, comment your opinions on I just don't care. All right, I'm doing this for me, and I hope it reaches out to some of you and you see it and you talk about this is not a clickbait video. This is not something that I want you guys. I'm not trying to get any clout. I'm not trying to do anything in the sense of when I talk about this, that it's because it's the thing to talk about. It's because it's been on my mind for almost 2 weeks, 3 weeks since this game has been out. I can't shut up about it. And so the only way that I can have closure is if I get it out to you guys and speak freely about it. So somehow, some way, someone can hear this message, even if it's a very small audience, because I know my audience is small. So what we're going to discuss today, reminder that this has spoilers. So if you don't want to watch this, I would click off the video. Here, I'll give you a countdown. All right, ready? I'll make it easy for you. I'll give you 5 seconds to click away. Because again, this is going to have spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get into it. So, today, we're going to be discussing my passion for Last of Us 1. Why you didn't play Last of Us 2, but you played Last of Us 1. We're gonna discuss the leaks. Now, before I know, you heard me. I didn't play the game, but listen, I know probably my theory isn't good because, oh, you didn't do the work. You didn't look into it. Listen, I've heard people who have said that they didn't play the game, but then they skipped shit. I watched that 11-hour video, okay? And I even watched it again. And then I watched streamers play it. And then I even saw gameplay. So you know how much time I put into this game? It's almost like I even fucking played it. I did my research. I looked back. I watched footage again, repeated things. I have a transcript of the Joel's death scene and everything leading up to it and showing you the points and flaws of everything that's wrong with it. So before you criticize me and you tell me I didn't play this game and I'm not a good reliable source, then you need to not watch the video, because if that's the only way that you want to justify yourself in listening to someone's opinion, then don't watch it. And it's fine. You've already probably clicked off at that point anyways, and you weren't even hearing this sentence. But anyways, as I mentioned, the leaks, why you didn't play Last of Us 2, but you played Last of Us 1. The marketing, I don't hear it enough. People don't bring up the marketing in this game. A lot of people deflect it and say, just don't trust the trailers. Just don't trust them, it's fine. All right. Then why the fuck did they put so much effort in the trailers, son? Why do they do that? Why do they do that? To sell you the fucking game? But hey, don't worry. Don't trust them. All right. So when anybody tries to sell you anything online, you just don't trust it. Got it. There is good marketing and there's bad marketing, and I'm going to explain to you why this game did a terrible job with the marketing. Again, I'm going to try my best to not sound negative in this review. I really am. I'm not going to try to be like, this game's stupid, they did Joel dirty, and fuck you, Naughty Dog, and Neil Drunkman, I'm going to send you a DM, and I'm going to threaten the rest of your freaking cast that wrote this thing. I'm going to freaking send you death threats, and I'm going to tell you that your family is dead because you killed off my best character in the game. You have no idea how much he meant to me. I'm not doing that. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm going to be very civil as much as I can, and I'm going to try, even after I'm done with all of this, I'm going to try to see if there's anything that I may have missed. But we're going to go into great depths with this, so buckle in. I've only been 7 minutes into the video, and I haven't even got started. And I understand that, but I'm going to make sure to tell you that this is going to be a very thorough review. I just watched somebody just not too long ago do like a 3-hour podcast of the game. This is not a game that you talk about in 10 minutes and get your point across. Oh, God, no. So before you even consider and think and go, yeah, it's gonna be a long time. Yeah, if you want someone who actually does their fucking research, yeah, they're gonna have a long time to talk about it. So buckle in. We're gonna talk about the best moments of Last of Us Part 2. We're gonna talk about the worst moments of Last of Us 2. We're gonna talk about how this game makes you feel manipulative. It makes you feel kind of bad for all the type of things that this game does. We're going to express how we feel with Abby's side of the story and how we feel about Ellie's side of the story. We're going to talk about the gameplay and the graphics. We're going to talk about what we feel was different between Last of Us 2 and Last of Us 1. Some random notes that I may have missed or kind of want to look over for a quick reminder, and then also Joel's death scene and everything leading up to it. And that is going to really conclude it. Especially the Joel death scene part, because there is a lot that happens, and I wrote down 4 pages. Yeah, 4 pages of just that. And it was 10 minutes of footage, remember. Not enough people talk about this because they just get mad at how Joel died. But what you don't know is just how it just isn't done right. And if people enjoyed that scene, I want you to listen to me. All right? If it helps, and I may go into the work of it in the description, I may put timestamps of each part of what I talk about. So if you only care about particular things that I talk about, I can definitely do that for you. I'm totally fine with making that happen. That's not going to be an issue for me. So if that helps you guys, if I can put that in the description for you so you know where things start and that's all you care about hearing, I'm not going to be mad at you if you didn't sit through this whole video. So, let's begin with my passion for Last of Us 1. I'm really glad that I have a water right here because I'm just like, oh my God, my throat's already going bad. So my passion for Last of Us 1. Story was great. Gameplay was phenomenal. Graphics for its time, amazing dialogue, and emotional moments. So many good times to laugh, so many times to cry. It was a good game. Really good game. I mean, we don't obviously have to go into great depths about it. You guys have played it. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, a very good story with a very, questionable end that kind of made us think, and did we do the right thing? Did we really make the right decision here? is this right? You know, is this justified? You know, it kind of makes us think. So of course, when we get Last of Us 2 coming out, we go, does this story even need to happen? Like, what's this story going to be about? How are they going to force this story and make this story work for us? So, you know, going again with my passion of The Last of Us 1 is that I had it as my desktop background for months. Absolutely loved it. I had it in the background. I was so hyped for this game. It was when I actually had my MacBook at the time, and it was just crazy. You know, I loved that game so much. I said I couldn't shut up to about my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and she got it as me a surprise gift. I just remember having it as like a Facebook photo. I had my hands up in the air. I'm just like, I got this fucking game, you know, because it was on PS3 at the time, and I'm just like, let's go, dude. I was so excited. So excited. I mean, I had it as my avatar, my PSN profile as Joel, basically since the game came out or whenever it was available, and I had it for about until basically about a month before the game came out. And I didn't feel like removing it because of the game. Like I didn't remove it because I was like, oh man, fuck this game and I'm mad at you. It was more or less just because I just wanted to change, and I was just kind of ready to move on with this game and move on with just, you know, this franchise. It's very similar. I may bring it back. I don't know. I'm not doing anything dirty to Naughty Dog by getting rid of it. I've just been into kind of more of this like virus hacking type of, you know, theme as of late. So I just kind of wanted to just do the things that I'm actually doing, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's why I really loved Last of Us 1, man. Like, I don't want to go into great detail about the gameplay or anything like that, because, I mean, that's not what this is about. This is more or less about just talking about the Last of Us 2 review, and more or less how that was. So let's discuss the first thing that happened with this game leading up to it. We get delays, right? Delays are coming out, delays. And then when it was supposed to come out, I believe in May, they said they were going to delay it due to COVID. And that's fine. I mean, that happens, you know, shit happens. It's been a shitty year, you know. A lot of games are getting delayed, or they're having troubles getting their stuff out. And, you know, they said, you know, they argued with it saying, well, what can't they just release them digital? Well, some people want physical copies. I understand that. So they basically had to, at this point, you know, had to delay it for the obvious reasons. But then leaks got out. So the leaks got out. And that's kind of when shit started to hit the fan. And I didn't think I found about it. I think my buddy Gavin told me about it, and he kind of called me and said, you know, just let you know, just stay. I think he actually messaged me on Discord and said, just stay off the internet. You know, don't go on any Sony, any Naughty Dog. They are spoiling the fuck out of this game. Leaks, or I just want you to be careful. I don't want you to get spoiled. So I was like, okay, well, he must have saw the spoilers then, because I don't know why he's telling me this, because he must have saw them. So I asked him, I said, did you get spoiled? Did you see it? He's like, yeah. I'm just like, shit. And in my head, I'm going, fuck. It's like, well, he saw him. I'm probably gonna see him. There's no way. I can't avoid this. I'm gonna see it. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my god, I'm gonna get spoiled this game. I'm going to. He has to tell me. I've been waiting 7 years for this game. I have to know, otherwise I think I'm gonna go crazy. I mean, this game isn't coming out for another 4 months, or I'm sorry, 4 weeks at this point. I think it was, I'm not sure. And I was like, I need to know. So he keeps hesitating me, and he's like, are you sure you want to know? Are you sure you want to know? I'm like, yeah, please, just tell me. Just tell me. At this point in my day and age, I don't care that much. Like, if you spoil me, I'm not going to be ruined. So when he told me the leaks, the ones that I saw was of the Joel, I basically, what I was doing to get the leaks out was I was asking the questions, and I was just like, I didn't just want him to flat out tell me. I was almost just kind of playing this 20 questions with me. I was just like, does any major character die? And he's like, yes. And he's like, does this happen? And he says, yes. And I said, did this happen? He goes, yes. And I just kept asking all these things. And then finally I was like, when I found out who like died, I was like, is it Joel that dies? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, don't tell me how. Let me just figure it out. And then he's just kind of like, wait, this is kind of stupid. And I'm like, and I'm sure if he ever watches, he's like, that's not what I said. I don't know what you said. I'm just paraphrasing. Sorry if you get mad if I don't quote you right on that. But I was like, that's he just kind of says that, and I just kind of go, okay. When does he die? You know, kind of wanted to figure that out, because I wasn't like, no, Joel. Like, I was kind of okay with Joel dying. I just didn't know like how he died. And it was like, he gets hit in the head with a golf club. I'm kind of like, okay, like I'm confused. You know, obviously there's no context here. You don't know what's going on. I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, like, okay. And he says, yeah, there's also a pretty gruesome scene between, you know, basically this character, I think her name is Abby, and she's beating the fuck out of Ellie and Dina and all this, and then like we don't know who that character is though, that shot the arrow at Dina and all this, and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm just kind of listening. I'm just like, all right. I'm just kind of like, man, I don't know what to think here. I don't know what to think. And then I lose it when he tells me and says, yeah, and apparently you also play as the villain that kills Joel for like, I guess half the game. But those are just rumors. I don't really know, you know. Because I also see the picture of the tombstone that Ellie's resting by, but we don't really know who that is. But it does show, if you really dig into that picture, it does look like it says Joel Miller on the tombstone. But I lost at that point. I said, are you fucking kidding me? I said, well, who's this girl? I said, who's this girl? Why is she such a main character at this point? Because she basically is. There's two main characters. And she goes, apparently you kill her father when you're rescuing Abby. Or I'm sorry, when you're rescuing Ellie from the Firefly Hospital. And you go, oh, what? You know? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, wait, so that's their story for the second game? That's their story? That's how they're gonna lead with it? They're gonna basically make the game go, so yeah, Abby, you killed Abby's father, so Abby goes and kills Joel, and then Ellie sees it, and then Ellie goes on a revenge plot. It's like, rah, I'm in my head going, this just doesn't hook me. This doesn't make me go, wow, this story sounds good, dude. Let's go. Woo! You know, and I'm glad I found out about the leaks, and not because it was like I wasn't going to play the game anyways. It was just kind of like I needed to know, because even if I wasn't going to play it and I did it blind, I probably just would have just been putting the controller down so many times. I would have just been like, this is so hard to play, you know, because it's just, I'm not mad again that Joel dies. And we go into Joel's death scene later in the video where I'm not mad. I just don't, there's so many situations where it could have gone differently because nobody breaks it down like I do. I'm sorry, I haven't found a video that goes, yo, you did the research. They go off of playing it and they try to remember what they can, and then they just talk about it freestyle with no notes. So I hope that this helps get to some of you. So that's pretty much the leaks. I just was kind of just like, whatever. And me and him were talking, and it was like, you know, even more with the curiosity, you know, I feel like we should, I still want to play it. I'm like, I know, but at the same time, I'm so back and forth. I'm like, I do want to play it, I don't want to play it. And it's like, my wife gives it to me as a Father's Day gift, and I told her, oh, I'm excited, but I'm conflicted at the same time. And then she just kind of just says, I don't know how to tell you this. And I'm like, what? She's like, I got you the game for a Father's Day gift. And I'm like, you did? And I was kind of like, no, like I don't really want to play it. I appreciate it, but I'm just kind of like, I don't really want to play it. Like I don't feel right playing this game the way the story is. Like there's the, like watching, going into like where our next thing is about the marketing just kind of just makes me feel like I gotta see this game now, because I think everything they talked about wasn't true. Everything they said was a lie. It was manipulative, and I'm just kind of thinking to myself going, I can't play this game, man. I can't pick it up. I can't do that to myself. I've been lied to so many times. I mean, man, we complain about loot boxes, and we complain about microtransactions. We complain about that stuff all the time. We hate paywalls, don't we? So when a game lies to you, it's the same concept, and it makes you feel and go, I can't get to myself to play it. And I know it's 2020 and we should be used to it at that point, but that doesn't make it justified. It doesn't make it a reason and says, oh, okay, well, I mean, it's 2020, and you know, you go ahead and you say, oh, forehead, lol, omega lol, gotcha, just play the game, forehead, and it's just not a good argument for me. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make me go, you know what? You're right. It's 2020. Everybody lies. Everybody's a piece of shit. So I should just accept that. Nope. I shouldn't have to do anything. If I don't like something, I shouldn't have to play it just to make myself justified and make myself feel better. So just to reiterate this in case I didn't cover this already, it says why you didn't play Last of Us 2, but you played Last of Us 1. It was a story-driven game. I care about the characters in the game. The story gameplay was great, but I didn't buy the first game for the gameplay. I bought it for the story. Never once did I ever look at Last of Us 1 and go, dude, the gameplay is gonna be sweet, dude! Let's go! Holy shit, man! I can't wait to get a hold of that gameplay! I played Last of Us 1 because I thought Last of Us 1 looked like the story was gonna be sick and just the mocap on these characters and everything. And I was like, dude, this is gonna be a good fucking, like, I have never seen characters this graphically good, this world. Oh my God, dude, this game is gonna hook me in for the story. And Last of Us 2 was the same exception. It was the same reason. If the story doesn't hook me when that was what got me to hook me in the first one, why play it? And if you say you gotta play it for the gameplay, I'm sorry, but that's like picking up an RPG game and then saying, there's just too many choices. I hate all the choices you have to make in this game. I didn't play this game for all the choices you have to make. I didn't realize I had to freaking figure out my weight distribution and all the stuff I have to carry. I just want to play the game for the gameplay. I didn't want all this freaking dialogue. Right? So for you to argue with me on any of this and tell me it, I'm sorry. I can't justify your reason in saying that's going to make me change my mind in the opinion on the story. Someone said it really clear that I watched and said, you know, I've played the game because you guys bitched and moaned at me and said, oh, well, I didn't play the game and so I finally played it. But guess what? It didn't change my opinion of the story. And I'm sticking to it. I'm not going to cave into anyone's negative comments and tells me and says anything I'm wrong, because as you keep listening to this and the research that I have had, I'm going to compile it all and tell you. So, the marketing. All right, we're gonna go over it. We're gonna make this very, very clear. There's a lot of notes that I just don't like about the way they advertise this game. Protecting Joel's story as much as they could. They wanted to keep his story a secret. They market this game as Ellie and Joel's adventure, and when I say that, what that means is that you have a scene where he says, "You think I let you do this on your own?" That makes it seem like, oh my God, I know we're playing as Ellie, but we're going on an adventure, like with him. He's gonna help us get revenge on these whoever we think they are at this time when we're seeing these trailers. Man, this is gonna be a cool story. Joel's gonna help us. Woo! But then later on we find out that Jesse is that character and it's not Joel. So Jesse's the actual game footage, Joel's the teaser trailer. We have a moment where there's flashbacks where he's actually younger in the flashbacks, but he's older in the actual he's older in the trailers and younger in the flashbacks. The one where he says, "I know you wish things were different, but they ain't." He was older in that trailer, but he was younger on the game footage. He had different hair, right? When you go back, you do a comparison, they're different. They look different, all right? You have, let's see, I'm trying to think of something. You have articles that state that you don't have to kill dogs yet you're forced to kill Abby's dog. Now, before you tell me, you say you don't have to kill the dogs. You still have to kill a dog. And if you want to make that argument, you want to tell me it's just one dog, though. It doesn't matter. You feel bad because then once you turn over and you play as Abby, guess who you're playing with? You're playing with that dog, and you're playing fetch with it. And there's another point with Yara, where Yara's throwing the ball with the dog, and they're doing little things, and they're just trying to make you feel bad for killing that dog. But the game tells you, and the articles say out there and go, oh, well, okay, all right, well, you don't have to. Just kidding, you do. Gotcha. Oh, it's funny, right? Gotcha, bro. It was easy. Gotcha game. So they say also that you will be embarking the journey as Ellie, as I mentioned earlier, but it doesn't once mention Abby. They want to keep that a secret. The only time that we ever see Abby mentioned is at Paris Games Week in 2017. Otherwise, she's a forgotten character. We don't even know who Abby is or who that person is. This means that they knew the game of the direction for years before it came out on June 19th of 2020. Right? So we knew the direction. They knew they were. I'm guessing they started development probably a little after Uncharted 4 came out, which I believe came out in 2016. So they kind of knew about it. The other thing that was a huge kind of a, okay, I mean, I get it, you don't want to spoil everything, but they were really picky on what you could or couldn't show based off of the review game companies and journalists could talk about. And it was especially any parts related to Abby. They were like, you can't talk about Abby, though. You can't. Why? You think we're going to be upset? Where's your selling point here? Because your selling point has been so focused on Ellie and Abby that you don't, I'm sorry, Ellie and Joel, that you don't even really seem to care about Abby. So should we? Because since she's such not a selling point to us, then should I care about her? Should I sympathize with her at all? Because you don't seem to even let us know who she is until basically one glimpse of Paris Games Week in 2017. If you don't know that trailer, I encourage you to look it up. YouTube, Paris Games Week in 2017, and you will know exactly the trailer I'm speaking of. And it's the trailer basically of the one where Abby is getting basically hung, and one of the Seraphites are about to basically cut her gut open before Lev comes and basically saves the day. That's the trailer that I am speaking of. There are a lot of 10 out of 10 game reviews on Metacritic. A lot of 10 out of 10 game reviews on Metacritic. Now, I'm not gonna say, well, Metacritic was such a good source before. There's been so much stuff out there about Metacritic nowadays ever since this happened that people are saying that it's more of an average review, or it's just you can filter out certain things in ways. Just reviews are just not a good way. Like a game review or a journalist is just not always a good way to get a review. That may sound so fucking contradicting from the guy who is doing that, but it's just one of those things where if you see 10 out of 10 game review and this thing just describes best game I've ever played, 2020 game of the year, that's like not a legitimate case. It's same to the point of a legitimate case that to somebody who has played the game or played the game and then only gave a 10-minute review. I can't go into this. You go look around. I mean, some people do a great job of making this review at 30 minutes tops and they go into great things, but I know they're cutting a lot of it out. I know they are. One thing that a lot of people, I found a video finally about somebody talking about the game that's good. All right. It's a good game and it's not actually that bad. But then what he explains, because why we're idiots for not understanding, is he says the game is marketed as a revenge plot. But it's actually about forgiveness. So it's never been about revenge. It's always about forgiveness and when Ellie's ready to forgive. So then why is there a trailer with Joel as he walks in seeing all these dead bodies? Ellie's playing the song guitar and Joel walks in and says, you still want to go through this? And Ellie says, I'm going to kill every single last one of them. It seems like the game is almost advertised as revenge. So why did you lie and say it's actually about forgiveness? Is that another gotcha moment? Is that another... Just kidding. You thought it was about revenge. You're so stupid. No. It's actually about forgiveness. And when it's time to put it down and actually forgive about it, that's what it's about. So I ask you, do you think it wasn't intentional or was it a mistake on their part? Because some people think, oh no, they messed up on the mocap with that scene with, you think I'm gonna let you do this on your own? I'm like, oh yeah, no, they messed up on that. They messed up on the mocap. That was a mistake on the PR team. They messed up. Really? They messed up. Nobody cleared that up. It's almost kind of like that whole like that PR disaster that happened with the Black Lives Matter movement of Twitch posting something and they took it down within minutes because of negative comments because they made a mistake. No, just people are just dumb. People just people just don't really see that these guys should be professionals. With Twitch, I can understand you making a mistake because you just probably don't have the best people around. I mean, clearly it's been shown, proven for years that you do things dirty and you don't really seem to clear yourself up. So for that matter of everything is these guys should not be making these mistakes. So I definitely think that this was intentional. I think this was 100% meant to be all swerve. We have even had confirmations of Neil saying that he enjoys to manipulate and to swerve the audience into making them believe something that's actually false. So going forward, I am no longer going to look at a Naughty Dog game and go, this is not going to be the game. Nope, not believing it. Because if that's what you've confirmed, Neil, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, all right, okay, this is not going to be the game. And I guess for now on, I should just probably watch people play your games because I don't really know what your direction is. If it's going to constantly be a swerve after swerve after swerve after swerve. Because I'm done being swerved. I'm done being lied to. I'm done being manipulated. I'm done being like, we knew that the selling point would be Joel, so we're gonna shove that down your face, and we know how much you guys loved Ellie, but Abby. All right. Okay. Got it. So, now that we talked about the marketing, let's move on to something a little different. Let's talk about just some of the best moments that I thought. All right, some of the best moments of Last of Us 2. Now, I may have to kind of go back because there's going to be a moment, and I may actually talk about it now because there's a moment in there, and I don't want to forget it later, so I may talk about it here, which kind of won't sound like a best moment, but it's going to kind of confuse me, and I wanna try to remember this because I looked it up as much as I possibly could, and I may look it up in this video, cut it out, and then explain it to what I saw. But there's a moment in a flashback where Ellie goes to the Firefly camp, Firefly Hospital, where she had her surgery done. And Joel chases after her. When I looked this up and I said, where's the Firefly camp? Where's the Firefly Hospital? Because I Googled it. I said, where is the Firefly Hospital? And when I looked it up, it said that the Firefly Hospital was located in Salt Lake City, Utah. And this was 2 years prior to current time. So when I say, let me just look it up here. Firefly Hospital. Last of Us. So the Firefly Lab. It says in a wiki that it's at the St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay? Now, when you look that up, you realize that 2 years before this moment, they're actually settled in to Wyoming. And I'm really confused because I go, wait a minute, how does that make sense? Why is Ellie traveling like miles away and somehow Joel just goes, she went to the Firefly Lab. No, she's gonna find out the secret I've been, because when you look up how far they are apart, and I will confirm that right now, really quick, just in case people are like, oh, that's not right. It's 4 hours if you drive, 4 hours and 37 minutes. If you drive by horse, it's probably gonna be, if you look at a bus route, like 12 hours. It's gonna be like almost a full day. So it took her probably all day to go to this because she just wanted to know what happened to her, okay? So to me, when we're discussing flashbacks, that's one of them I'm not really sure on, and I don't really know what that means because that's not cleared up or explained, and I know a lot of people missed that moment. I know a lot of people were just like, whatever, don't care, and they were just kind of like, oh, this is the moment. So it felt very forced. It felt very, let me see, oh, yeah, whatever, you know, we just knew what was going to happen. We knew the discussion, and it just didn't feel like that was the right time to have the discussion. Because, again, Jackson, Wyoming, Salt Lake City, Utah, according to these sources and where things are, it seems really odd that Joel would have known this. Would have set that segment up better is if she found out and then she goes back, she knows, and she goes, oh my God. And then maybe we have a later flashback about, you know, she keeps the stuff. She shows Joel the paperwork back in Jackson and says, you see this? Explain this. What does this mean? You said that they didn't do testing on me, Joel, and you said it didn't work, and look, it does work. Blah, 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 blah. That would have set that segment up a lot more. It would have made a lot more sense. So if anybody is watching this and they want to clear that part up for me in particular, please do. I'd love to let you, I'd love to know, because that was one I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. How does that add up? I'm really confused on that. But hey, man, if you can clear it up for me, I would be like, okay, no, you're right. I missed that, my bad. Because there's a lot of people in these reviews that go, wait a minute, I missed that, you're right. Or, oh, wait a minute, holy shit, you're right. And that just happens in this story because it's very polarizing. People just don't click with things if they don't like it, or people click with things they do like. And it's just one of those things where I was like, wait a minute, what? I mean, Ellie's flashbacks were cool, but I mean, it was more just to clear up her side of the story. If anything, it wasn't really like, it was more just of history with her crew. But like the best moment, honestly, was, and everyone will agree when I say this, was the moment when you are getting that surprise gift with Ellie and Joel on their little adventure and doing that kind of stuff. The intense gameplay moments. Sometimes the music would play in the background to make it feel more intense. Just sometimes as once you get caught, the music's just kind of like, wow. And you're just like, and you almost feel like you're in that moment. Without that music, I feel like the moments when I'm not feeling as tense, the dog's biting at you, and as that's happening, you're just like, and they're like, she's over here, and it's like, and it's just like, everything just kind of sounds like it's so cinematic, and it's like, dude, whoa, and you're just ready to go, and you just feel like it's just so much energy. You're in those moments. It just feels real. The way you can manipulate the clickers to attack either the rattlers or the WLF, depending on where you are. That Rat King boss fight was intense. It has two waves, and it's just kind of like you break off one piece, and it's even more, and it's just like, man, like that thing was freaky as hell, and it's probably, again, one of those situations you're just like, oh my God, what the fuck, every time. You know, it feels very Resident Evil-esque, you know? Where you're just like, oh my God, what the fuck? Holy shit, you know? Stalker seemed pretty badass with the way they moved. I liked that. And it feels like the game, but you know, this is a best moment, but it's gonna sound weird when I say this. It feels like a game you have to play twice, maybe even 3 times, just to notice things you haven't seen before. Because even still to this day, and I said this a lot already, is that there's so many points in this game you look at and you go, dude, did you notice that though? Oh no, I didn't. Did you notice it? Oh no, wait, I gotta go back and, hey, did you see this? Perfect example was my buddy told me about it, a scene where as you're getting, there's this sniper, really good sniper, who's luring in these infected, and you're just like, dude, who's this sniper? Who's the sniper? And I actually watched another person not notice that was Tommy that you pushed over the ledge as Abby. I didn't catch that. There was another person I watched that said that, and they were like, hey, I didn't notice that was Tommy either. So then when my buddy told me that, he was like, go look back. And I was like, holy shit, that's Tommy. How did I miss that? And that's what I'm saying, is that there's a lot of this in this game where it's like, did you notice what we did there? Did you see that? Did you pay attention to that? Were you looking? And I don't know if that's because the reason why that it's not a bad thing. It's not bad when that happens. There's a lot of things where you go, I mean, Mass Effect is a good example for me and mine. I had to play that game multiple times to understand the story, and when you really see how much effort they put in it to really make you think, that's not a bad thing for a game to do, to make you think, to make you process. It's not bad. It's not negative to be like, oh, you got to play the game. No, I mean, no, it's fine. That means that they put a lot of thought into the story, and it's really cool to kind of see things like dive in and whatever. So going into some of the worst moments of Last of Us 2 is whenever we get an opportunity for Ellie or Abby to explain some type of dialogue that we may be confused at with the story, it just doesn't get explained well enough. So for example, when Lev asks Ellie or Abby, I'm sorry, why is she helping us? Like, why are you helping us? Like, what's going on? And she'll just respond with guilt, or because I have to. Okay, you want to reiterate that a little bit more? You want to tell me just a little bit more what you mean by that? I don't know what you mean. What do you mean, guilt? Of what? What do you have to do this for? Nobody, what? And then you kind of find out a little later with like Isaac, when Isaac's pointing at him and being like, what's that behind you? And he says, he's just a kid. He's like, step away, you have 3 seconds, otherwise I'm shooting you both. And he goes, he's just a kid. He saved my life. Okay, maybe that's why? But why didn't Abby say that to Lev and go, well, you saved my life, so I figured I could return the favor for you guys. I want to save Yara's life because you saved mine, and that would have made more sense. But why is it like, why do we have that out of context so much later? Why are we finding things out so much later? Why can't we like just have that now? Why is there this always, what did that mean? Huh? Wait, oh, that's why? Maybe? Okay, wait, let me look back and just see. Maybe that's what they meant. I don't know. Let me Google it really quick and just type it on the... And that's what happens. That's how this works. That's how this story is written a lot of the times. It's always... I'm not sure. That's a good point. You know, and that's just kind of why it doesn't make it the greatest game of all time. I used the word that I heard from somebody else, call it a messy masterpiece, which is very, very true. So... Abby and Owen's relationship, just very odd. I'm not into this whole love triangle bullshit. I mean, they did that very similar thing. It wasn't a love triangle with Jesse, Dina, and Ellie, but it just was awkward, I guess. But, you know, Jesse was a champ, and he's like, yo, I get it. You want to have that Ellie girl, you know? Shit, I don't give a shit about you, man. You do what you want. Woo! I'm cool, you know, we done, whatever. I don't give a shit. So, I mean, it is what it is, you know? But it's like after that Owen and Abby sex scene, I'm not going to talk about it like too much. I just don't really care. I didn't think it was weird. I didn't think it was odd. And the reason why I bring it in the worst moments, it's because what happens afterwards. It just seems like Abby regrets it. But Owen's like, well, I want to talk about it. There's a scene where he goes, do you want to talk about last night? And she's like, no. And he's like, but I want to. And he's like, listen, I've got to go. And I was just kind of like, what was the point of the sex scene then? Like, what's the point? Because there's later on in a little bit where where it just like when we have this moment that leads up to it, it's more or less just surprising than it is like, oh God, why did you make me see it? Oh shit, dude, no, I don't want to watch that. Oh God, no, my eyes, dude, no, how can you do that to me? I'm scarred for life. No. I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm more or less just kind of confused on how it happens because it just doesn't seem realistic. Because what happens is, just to reiterate this, and I may say this twice, but it's basically Abby goes on the hunt for Owen because he was supposed to go on a basically a scavenge, not a scavenge, but a sweep. Because he saw some scars, is what they call them, at the militia. Although, is it the militia? Can't remember. I have it in my notes down a little bit, but I'll read it here. I'll explain it here in a little bit because I will go back into detail. And it's kind of like, you know, there's that moment where he's kind of sitting there and he's like, Owen just sits there and he goes, you know, we're fighting these 2 scars and we sitting there, and he's like, I've killed a lot of scars, and this one I just couldn't get to because I knocked him down and he could have reached for his gun, but he didn't. He was just ready to go. And Abby was like, because again, the reason why they didn't go on a search for him in the first place was because they found out that Owen basically went AWOL and shot Danny. So then they kind of go and be like, he's no longer a member of us. Screw that guy. He's dead to us. Isaac likes loyalty. Isaac is the leader of the WLF, in case you don't know. So if any of those people do those kind of things, Owens, I mean, especially in Owen's case, Isaac's like, you're dead to me, dude. I don't care. So when Abby goes and just searches, because he's like, there's no way that Owen did this. And then when Owen does explain his side, Owen's kind of like, I can't believe Isaac came and made you, out of all people, the person that's the most conflicting person in the story of this relationship, this love triangle, come and search for me. And he's like, he didn't even care about searching for you. He's not even looking for you. And you're just kind of like, you're sitting there and he's like, man. And they start explaining the story and they start talking about it. And Owen just starts basically saying that what Isaac said was true, and said that, yeah, I basically am done being a part of this WLF. I'm done doing these things. I shot Danny because he shot me, basically, and not shot me, but he basically was going to shoot me, and because he was mad that I wasn't going to kill this innocent Scar that just didn't want to be, you could tell he was tired. You could tell he was exhausted, so he didn't want to go. He was done. So you find out that what Owen says is true, and Abby can't believe it. Abby's like, oh, we'll clear this up. We'll figure it out. And she's like, I'm done. I don't care. I'm fed up. I'm done with this. I'm going to Santa Barbara. She's like, why? Because of a rumor, which sounds like it's a rumor that there's Fireflies there, and he wants to be a part of the Fireflies, because if you didn't pay attention to the story, the Fireflies are also a part of the WLF. They are kind of the people that are basically like, fuck you Fireflies, oh, we're going to be a part of the WLF, this new people that want to actually see a better light instead of being like you lazy ass Fireflies. So she's just like, oh man, you really want to do that? And then Owen kind of does this little sting and says, it's just a lead. I gotta see it through. Which that also gets brought up later in another flashback when Abby finds out about a rumor when they pick up some Firefly group from what Tommy worked with, and they said that they have a location on where he is, even though Joel may not be there, but it's a lead. And then Abby says that to Owen and goes, it's a lead. I gotta see it through. So then Owen kind of stings that back at her and says, it's a lead. I gotta see that through. And it kind of makes you feel and go, all right. So again, this is all leading up to the sex scene, right? I'm talking about this. In case you're thinking I'm getting off track, there is no way in hell that I'm getting off track here. This is just leading up to the sex scene. And you go, okay. All right. All right. And Abby's just kind of shocked. And Abby's just kind of like, all right, okay. We'll see. He's like, he said, I'm done. I'm tired. I don't care anymore. I'm done with this. I'm moving on. I'm done with this. I'm not going back, which he basically doesn't. He never shows his face to Isaac ever again. And he hides out in the aquarium. So, we obviously get that and it's ready to move on. And then, Abby's still giving him the shit, saying you're drunk, all this. And he's like, oh, shut up. And he's like, well, sorry, I growed up, all this. He's like, oh, what? Should I do what you did? Go on a murdering spree and find my family just like you did? Is that what I should do? Go find my family? And it's all this because, one thing I didn't understand about the whole scene, which is if you go, I go in the opposite direction. And I'm like, opposite direction of what? You're helping Lev and Yara, which I don't even know where you're trying to get them to in the first place. I don't even know. Maybe I don't even know what they're just helping them try to escape. There's no plan of action at that point. We don't even know. Opposite direction of what? I don't even know. Because later on you find out that Abby ends up going with Lev to do that lead that Owen thought about. Because now she just was whatever. So when she said that, I gotta go in the opposite direction. I was like, what? What up? And it just didn't make sense. I didn't know what she meant by that. And I don't know if anybody can ever clear that up either. Please, again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch that scene before the sex scene and watch the dialogue thoroughly. I am doing a pretty good job narrating this because I watched it very closely and I don't know, again, I watch things leading up to stuff to just kind of see how it fits versus being like, that scene was stupid, dumb, bleh. I try to figure out a sense of it, but that didn't make sense. the whole fighting and choking each other, and then all of a sudden now we're banging. It's like, okay, it was out of nowhere. It's just very weird. Everyone's reactions, I'm sure, was whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, they weren't like, makes sense. Finally. Thank God, I was hoping they were gonna fuck in a boat. Nobody was saying that. And if you were, man, you were good at predicting when sex is gonna happen, man. I want to know, like, you know, hopefully we don't fight. I don't fight around you, and all of a sudden you want to bang me from behind, because I got to make sure to keep my distance when we're fighting. I want to make sure I choke you first, and all of a sudden you're like, get over here. We're gonna bang. So, anyways, when Yara and Abby went to go on a search for Lev, Owen wanted to come with, but then Abby tells him and says, you know, get your priorities straight. What? What priorities? Abby, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? Get your priorities straight. You don't even know what your priorities are. You're saving these people, you're betraying the WLF, you're fucking everybody else around you, you're just done with it just as much as Owen is, but yet you say get your priorities straight. Owen has a priority, he wants to get out of this too, and you want to be on that same priority, but you're like, fuck that priority, I'm going to do this priority, even though it's kind of the same priority, and it's just like, what? What? So, Lev ends up going basically for that moment where she goes and wants to tell her mom stuff, and then, you know, obviously stuff happens there, and, you know, mom dies, and it's kind of one of those things, and it is what it is, you know. I mean, it's sad, but it's one of those things where I thought that was done well, and I was okay with it. But one of the things I think a lot of people just don't talk about and don't bring up about, or maybe just deflect it and move on, is the there's a lot of quests in this game, missions, whatever you want to call them, that just seem like they're wasting our time. And the perfect example is the one where you have the pointless getting Yara her treatment after she gets her wings clipped by one of the Scar leaders. Seraphites, you want to call them that too. And it just didn't seem like it mattered, because you go through all this to save Yara's life just for her to die by the WLF. I mean, she kind of does it by, you know, shooting Isaac, the WLF leader, in the back, and they just fucking are just like, you killed her! Blah, blah, blah. Just wreck her, man. Like, they didn't need to, like, shoot her, like, 6 or 7 times. They were just like, oh, you're doing bad. And they just shot her to death. I mean, overkill. Her body's just like, and it's just like, wow, you know, like, a little over the top, but it is what it is. So, I mean, it's like, you know, Lev tells Nora that, so, okay, let me make sure I'm getting this right. So you go through this, it's a waste of time. You do this twice, by the way. So they're in the hospital, she's resting, Yara's resting on the bed, you know, just kind of just sitting there, and Lev's like, there's no way, like, we're gonna have to get these supplies fast. I don't think she's gonna make it. She's losing a lot of blood, man. I don't know. So then Lev's like, let's see here. Lev's like, Lev tells Nora that he can, I'm sorry, not Nora, Mel. I keep getting those two mixed up. So if I apologize if I've ever said like, you know, and Nora instead of Mel, I do not mean that. Nora is a very similar character to me to Mel, where it's kind of just like, they're very, like, you know, they're very forgotten characters for me. They don't have much of a story to tell, but I mean, you do this twice. So Lev tells Mel that he can get the medical supplies in 2 hours at the Wolf Hospital on the west side. And the reason that he can get them faster is because he takes great heights they take to get around the wolves, which are the WLF. So it's kind of funny. The Scars, Seraphites, call them the Wolves. The Wolves refer to themselves as WLF. The WLF refers to these guys as Scars, but they're actually Seraphites. So they really just don't respect each other's names and just call them whatever the hell they think they are in their opinions. So you go to great heights, which that is a pun, by the way, that Abby has ever gone to get to this location where the medical supplies are. But they do end up falling in the water, and lucky for them, I guess they take the grounded route. So they from these great ass heights, and they crash this building, and they crash in the water. Whew. Thank God, otherwise that would have been the end of those characters, you know. So thank God that they're okay. So let's see. Abby gets in because they know who Abby is, because Lev can't obviously go in because otherwise they're going to shoot him on sight. So by the time she gets to where she needs to be, a couple of WLF members walk in and basically say that Isaac told us that you've been AWOL and we are bringing you back on the next shipment. So she's walking in, getting some, she's like, hey, can I get some medical supplies? You know where I can find some? All of a sudden they walk in and they go, hey, you're coming back with us. It's like, what are you doing? And they arrest her in handcuffs and they tell her, you're going back on next ship. And he's like, no, I was so close. But then all of a sudden Nora finds Abby, and we don't really know how that is. We don't really know how Nora finds Abby. We're gonna have to just assume and go that maybe Nora helps Isaac by Isaac ordering Nora to chain up Abby in this random elevator that looks like it's not secured by anyone at all. I mean, you would think if anyone is locked up there, they would have some kind of guards in vicinity of her so she doesn't escape. Well, then Nora then tells Abby where the medical supplies might be, down on the lower floor of the hospital, but it's going to be a huge risk. But there is a chance that she might find what she needs. But Abby seems desperate at this point, and she will basically do anything to save Yara's life, so Nora helps her get to where she needs to be. But again, to reiterate, after all that is said and done, you get your time wasted by her just dying. I'm not looking for happy endings. I'm not looking for this. You're just wasting my time. It's like doing a Skyrim quest or doing some Witcher 3 quest, and every time you go to, like, let's say this guy's like, all right, I got a quest for you. Like, all right, you're gonna search in these 10 areas, but always the last area is gonna be the place you find, so it's not RNG. And it takes you 2 hours to beat it, but the XP, 30 XP. I mean, that would have been worth it if it had been like a fucking 1,000 XP because I'm gonna level up, whatever, but it's like, it's only 30 XP, and it's like, that's wasting my time. That's wasting my time, and that's what this feels like. It's wasting my time. I'm not caring about happy, sad, no, she should have lived, oh my God. I'm more or less just, you're wasting my time. Stop dragging me along. Stop with these flashbacks. Stop with these things. I don't care. Just let me just fucking, what's the end game here? You keep throwing a curveball after curveball after curveball after curveball that it's just like, that's how we made this game 30 hours, guys. You know, it's like the other example is like when you have Abby and you have Abby and Lev get a radio frequency of someone in the vicinity of the Fireflies. Ooh, and then all of a sudden as they get out of the house, they're freaking just boom, bombarded by rattlers, and you get freaking Hulkman leader just fucking just goes boom, boom to Lev, which is like totally unnecessary, just knocks him the fuck out, and he's just like, oh shit, and it's like, oh my God, like Lev should be dead, dude. There's no way. I love how often this game loves to just take things like, you know, we could just shoot her once. No, but let's shoot her 10 times. You could just maybe just shove him against the wall. No. Let's Hulk smash him and then have his head smack up against the garage door. Great idea. It's always just this over the top shit that doesn't need to happen. There's so many times where it seems like Abby can do this without Owen, or Owen can't do this without Abby. If Abby doesn't do this thing for Owen, then Abby gets mad. And if Owen wants to go to Santa Barbara because he heard of Ellie the Fireflies for being there, but Abby can't, it's like at the end of the world. We already know that Abby is committed to helping Lev and Yara at this point. So why does Owen need Abby so badly in his life when you have a child coming soon and Mel in your life? You rarely see Mel or Owen doing anything romantic together, so what the f is their relationship? What is it? Because it just seems like those two are just, it's just kind of like a, whatever. And it's like, and you know, there's a point in the beginning when you start playing as it where you're like, you need to be getting along with Mel, and it's like, I don't want to talk to her, and it's like, she's gonna have a baby of the guy I like, and it's just kind of like, you know? So there's a little more couple of stuff that I'm gonna kind of touch base on. I'm kind of just gonna get a rough on because I know we're going in about an hour here, and I don't really wanna, you know, touch base on too much things. I don't want to get into too much of a great detail at this point because we do have to cover one thing I do want to end this on, and it may take about 10-15 minutes to cover. So the next things that we're going to talk about are just some other random things regarding just silly things that I thought were, you know, kind of like very similar to the whole like Joel and or when they brought up the dialogue with like Dina and Ellie talking, and then it's just like cuts them off and like doesn't matter, they fucked up. Or the whole thing with, you know, why are you saving us there, Abby? I don't know, I'm just gonna have to, guilt, you know. And it's kind of like, all right, nothing's explained. There's a moment where you see Abby helping Mel over this gate, and Mel basically squishes her baby. no pain whatsoever. Okay, my wife could barely move around, let alone just bend or twist or climb easy with the child. So I don't know how Mel is just so goddamn invisible with this baby. And don't worry, I'm gonna get into more wrong how big that baby is based off of the timeline and how they think how big babies are in a certain time point. So stick that in your head. It's gonna be very clear. So Mel mentions that she wishes that she could drink, but she can't because she's pregnant, obviously. But that really doesn't make sense with that because she basically puts herself on the front line anyways, every day. So why is Abby, who's part of her crew member, making Mel, one of her crew members, fight on the front lines? Why? And why does Mel not seem to care about putting her child at risk? Are we supposed to be like, good job, Mel. So glad that you're risking your life out there even with the baby. Good job. Good job. You are amazing. Props to you. You're so brave. So brave. No, it's just stupid. It's just dumb. It's pointless. You need to be safe. I mean, I've had coworkers that I've worked with that are pregnant and they don't do these things. So don't tell me that this is just like, you know, supposed to be just a different human being, you know, she doesn't follow the rules and whatever, because that's just not smart. So there's a lot of stuff in here too where the ending credits scene, I think a lot of people miss this. I missed this. I do want to explain to you guys something really quick. I had this sneaking suspicion that when Ellie and Lev run off into the fog, for that matter, and they disappear as, you know, Ellie's sitting there just kind of just broken, you know. There is a moment there where you see at the ending credits that a boat is on this beach, and you see something off in the distance. How many of you thought that that was the Rattler's base? Because I bet a lot of people did. But actually, and it's based off of one of the co-directors that helped write the game for Last of Us 2, said that that is actually the Firefly base. Okay, that's pretty cool. Again, this is where, like, these things, and you say that, you go, oh, so it implies that they made it, and that they made it to the Firefly Blaze, they're safe, whatever. And it doesn't, I don't know if it implements that there's going to be a third game, and it's going to be about those two. We don't really know, but that is what it means. That's what it means. I mean, the ending to Last of Us, Part 1, or Part 2, I'm sorry, is just like, when it comes to, like, they zoom in on that, you see the curtain with the guitar. It's very similar to the main menu screen of Last of Us 1. That symbolism is very cool. But I'm really not gonna talk, and it may kind of seem like a scene where you go, let's talk about that ending between Abby and Ellie. She goes all this way just not to kill her, no! The game is poorly advertised. And that's my defense. The reason why that just doesn't work is because the game just doesn't make sense. Listen, I would totally go for that revenge if the revenge plot said, how much would it be worth to you to revenge if you were to lose everything? Would it be worth it? And if that was kind of the selling point, I would understand that ending. But it wouldn't spoil me. I wouldn't be like, what the fuck does that mean? Even if you kept Abby a secret, I go, wow, okay, I get it. I understand what you mean now. I see that. Okay, I get it. I know what you mean. I hear your thoughts. I know what you're talking about. Okay, I get it. I understand. I know why she did it. But she waited until too late to realize. And it is what it is. Okay, fine. And that's just how it goes, you know, like, but I've seen people who have been mad that they let her up, they let her escape, and they get mad, and then at the end of the game they go, great game, like the same guy playing the game. And I'll be like, Wait, you just hated that scene, but then at the end of it, you liked it? Why? Because you got the closure with Ellie and Joel, with him saying, like, and Joel was like, if there was anything that I could do to make that moment again, I would have done it differently in a second. And I just kind of like, okay, all right, fine, okay, then it's a good, no, that doesn't work because these flashbacks are just nothing but pain or nothing but misery because Joel's already gone. Joel's already dead. So it isn't really closure. It's just kind of something that she just realizes and goes, Joel's ready to forgive and he would forgive me. And I've just been a stubborn ass. I need to not be so mad at Abby. And I need to not be so upset with Abby because I know why Abby did what she did. And I need to forgive, even though he was like a father figure to me. And that's hard. I get it. That's a tough thing. But I mean, it's just one of those things, the story just wasn't driven well enough. And there's so many situations where if I don't care if Joel would have died, I don't care, but it just needs to be certain things. There's certain stuff they write and they fit in there. You miss. I know that you go and you go, I guess it makes sense and you accept it. But we're always looking at the major points. If you play this game a few more times, you're gonna notice the plot holes. But there's way too much manipulation in this game. It makes you feel like Ellie's a bad person versus Abby being a good person. You never see Abby kill any dogs. You see Ellie kill all the dogs. You feel like Ellie has remorse after basically beating the shit out of Nora for information, and she has PTSD after seeing Joel's death. You feel like Ellie is getting the rough end of everything, while Abby just doesn't seem like she has any remorse or anything. Abby seems like she's one to forgive and say, listen, I let you guys live and you wasted it. She says that. It's just kind of like, man. And you kind of just go, you know what? I get it. I understand. And it's just kind of like, these are very just kind of like very rough things I'm going to go over because they have been said and done by so many people that I don't need to reiterate them. The things I want to discuss are things that I don't feel like I've heard from other people, and I want to get them out there so that in case you do stumble upon this, you don't hear the same thing over and over. Even though maybe it might make you feel good and go, oh God, I'm glad he thinks the same way, because I will tell you, I do feel the same way. They just don't need to be reiterated. They don't need to be said and done. They don't need to be talked about. But I'm not upset with Joel's death. I will reiterate that. But I do not like how it was done because there's too many plot holes and there's too many moments that make me go, wait a minute. Like people are like, I liked that death. Okay, let me show you a little bit when I break it down. Let me show you. And you will see you liked that death with all these little plot holes in between. Okay. Shows you how much you don't listen to the story, how much you don't see how actually bad it is when you really dive in, pause, play, rewind, go, and go, oh my God, this was really poorly done. This was rushed. We just gotta kill Joel, you guys. It's just, we'll put him in flashbacks. We'll make him exist. I mean, because that's how they give it and they make up for it. They go, well, we don't want you to just think that's the only time you play as Joel or see Joel. We want to make sure you also have these memories with him. But that's just cheap. That's just cheap. That's not good. You know, so it's that manipulate. I mean, they wanted you to make you feel tired of this game, regardless if you're playing as Abby or as Ellie. I know people want to say that it's like, oh, they made you feel so bad for this and that, and it's just kind of like, no. It's legitimately, this game makes you feel like a piece of shit. It really does. It's not a good game to play if you just got a promotion at your job and you're like, dude, I can't wait to go play some Last of Us 2, dude. Because it's just gonna feel like that promotion was just like, wow, I'm over here all happy about my promotion, and then this game comes out and I'm just like, jeez. I mean, it's just a sad game, you know. From the starts, you're playing as you're so conflicted as you're playing as Abby beating up Ellie, and you feel so conflicted. You're like, sometimes there's freaking compilations out there, man, that have like, you know, 10 hours of maybe like Abby have fallen off a cliff over and over again, and they're just like, this is the greatest shit ever. I love it. There are memes everywhere about this game, man, of just about things, some positive, some negative, whatever, and I see them all. It's just like, it's game's been out for 3 weeks and people are still, almost 4 weeks now in this game, people are still talking about it. People are still ranting and raving. And I hope that they see it, because they need to know that there are some passionate gamers out there, man. There are people out there like me who just rant and rave about this shit because we love these games and we connect to these games, and we this is our life. This is how we escape. So to put something in games that just kind of make, like, because there's moments even when you're just kind of like, you know, you see that Abby's dog and it's just kind of like, you're like, wait, you want me to feel bad for that? Really? You want me to feel bad for killing that dog even though, you know, you kind of forced me to? No, it don't work that way. It's just kind of like, you know, like, let's find out, like, this guy does something really terrible to you, and then you end up finding later that he's actually a really good person. You go, wait. You want me to feel bad for what he did to me just because his whole life he's done everything good up until that point? That's not how that works. I mean, you want to say, oh, WLF are just like us. Yeah, everybody in this world is just like us. The Rattlers are just like us. The WF is just like, the Scars are just, everybody is like everyone. The Native Americans versus the Americans and all this. Everybody is just like, oh, you know, like, if we could even do that. Be like, oh, Native Americans, oh, well, they're just like us. We should have never took over their land. Oh. Same thing, man. It's the same thing. It's the same concept. It's just, we know that already. So why do you need to explain that? Of course, the WLF are just like normal people, but they have a different cause, a different meaning. I mean, they're clearly on this whole, like, we're hunting the Scars, the Seraphites, we're fighting them for territory, all this, all that. There's a moment in the game where Isaac goes, we're getting ready to fight a crew. We're getting ready. There's a storm coming, and this is the time we're going to jump. And we're going to fight them. I want you to get your best crew, and I want you to assemble them, because we're going to get ready. I mean, even Abby at this point in this time, it's kind of like, he goes, she's like on the side. She's like, yes, we're fighting. Like, but then all of a sudden she realizes and goes, you know, like, I can't unless I have Owen, you know? And it's kind of like, you know that she's sticking with, but then later on she finds out and goes, these people aren't that bad. Right, nobody is that bad. Nobody in this world is bad. They just have their own agenda, but then when they have their differences and their disagreements, that's when they fight for each other. That's kind of why Ellie and Abby were fighting with each other, because, like, more Ellie was fighting Abby, because she had a disagreement, basically, like, you did something I didn't like, I'm coming to murder you. Same thing with the Scars and the WF. You're doing things differently than I don't like, blah, blah, blah. Because even in the end, when the WLF invade the Seraphites, Isaac dies. WLF is basically over. That faction is dead. And same with the Scars. You know what the message of this game is? It's chaos. And no matter what happens, there is no big company, big faction, big anything, because regardless of it, everything eventually dies and murders you, because you have the infected to think about as well. You know, like, it's just kind of one of those things where that's just the game, man. That's just the world. That is just the thing that people have in this world. That's just how it is. The way it's gonna be. So, I didn't talk about this, but I do want to just reiterate really quick and say what I thought was really cool, what they brought in differently with The Last of Us 2 versus Last of Us 1. The dodge mechanics seemed pretty cool, but then a lot of people did say that it ends up being repetitive, because it always seems like after they swing at you once and it's a dodge and it's a hit, dodge, hit, and then they're dead. You know, it's just a very QTE based kind of system, even though there's no QTE really there. It just kind of feels very just systematic and repetitive. That AI system, man, is so fucking cool. A fact, but again, like I said, and I may have already said this earlier, but just to reiterate it, you know, it kind of was like, man, like, you get kind of bored of it in a while too, because you end up kind of just starting to guess the names. It ends up being a meme at this point. You're kind of just like, all right, Jesse. Oh no, that was Keith. Okay, I killed Keith. Never mind. Oh, is this David I killed? Oh, okay, nope, that was actually Joe. Shit. Carla. Nope, that was actually Kelly. Oh shit. Okay. You know, and it's like, again, people experimented and tried to be like, well, what if I kill the dog first? What is the person with the guard dog do? And he gets all mad and he kills you instantly. Or what if you kill the person that has the guard dog and the guard dog's all sad and like, get up, it's gonna be okay. It's like constantly feeling bad. Again, by the way, with the rattlers, you have dogs. So Ellie has to kill more dogs. Why is Ellie always like attacking dogs, but then when Abby runs into rattlers, it's like there's no dogs like chewing her legs or doing all that, trying to pin her down, intimidating her while they're like, you know, basically wrapping her up and sending them to their campsite. It's just like Abby never sometimes even people want to argue the fact, I feel like Abby had the better gear. Abby had the cooler stuff. Abby could actually craft shivs, where Ellie was more OP and never had a fucking issue with her knife because it never broke. She could constantly just stab people. People want to argue in the fact that the clickers are just nerfed and they're so easier to kill, where it was more kind of like you had to be like more tactical with your approaches with clickers in the first game, and it was more intense. There's a lot of stuff in the game they could have done differently. The accessibility options, amazing. Accessibility options of things that you can do. For people say that you can actually turn on certain settings so that you know where the next waypoint is, so that you don't get locked out of your linear location or you missed out on the collections. You can highlight certain stuff to see collections. It's good. It's cool, man. It's very cool what they did with that. It's something that a lot of people don't talk about because the game had such a negative impact on so many people that it's like something you need to mention, because it's something that a lot of companies need to do for people that just, I don't want to say disabled, but just need help because they don't see things the same way another person see. Nobody plays the same game the same way. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to see that puzzle a lot quickly and solve it faster than you. And it's not because you're stupid. It's not because you're dumb. It's just because of how your brain processes things and how you see stuff fit. When you play your first horror game, you're going to be, oh my god, but then as you play more, you're going to be more melded to it and immune, and you're going to be used to it, and you're not going to care. So it's like, it's just how our brains work. We tend to adjust over time with things. The custom difficulty settings, so great. It gives you an opportunity to have a little more variety. That replayability is there. The fact that you don't have to feel you're limited to just their defaults. You can go ahead and you can have the hardest difficulty with the enemies being so OP, but you can at least have resources so you don't feel like you're always dying in a spot over and over and over again. A lot of cool stuff like that. Very, very, very cool. So I hope at this point, if you're still with me during this point of the discussion, that I have covered things good and bad that maybe you have never heard before, and things that you have heard before, but I've kind of shedded them in a different light, brought to you in a different light, I should say. But now I do want to talk about the next thing, which is Joel's death scene and anything leading up to it. So again, as I reiterate, I'm not going to talk about the death, the ending scene, the stuff like that. There's not enough evidence yet to really prove that theory because it's just one of those things where you may have to just kind of play it over and over and over to really understand what really that message is. But I feel like I kind of covered it in a way that helps people see things in a different light. So Joel's death scene and anything leading up to it. All right, I want you to now kind of sit back. Don't look at me. Kind of look at the ceiling. Look around. Close your eyes, maybe even, because I'm going to give you visuals and I'm going to give you ideas, because I'm going to be reading this transcript from the moment that after Ellie and Dina go on their patrol, and Jesse says, "Be smart about it. Do your thing. And go out there and be safe and do what we do best, which is do this thing." That we have an important job to do to make sure that our area is safe. All right, so close your eyes. Imagine this next scene. Imagine this next thing I talk about, because it is very, very, very important. So, after Dina and Ellie go on their patrol, we are introduced to Abby and her crew sleeping in this cabin. God knows where or how they found this place. It's just there. I do bring that up later, by the way. I do reassure that this is what it is. But again, we just need to at this moment in time, we don't know how they found it. That's just how our images are going to perceive it first time through. So it looks like Abby is having a nightmare. It could be of her father's passing. We don't know at this time, of course. But she wakes up and sees Owen looking out the window. They start discussing some things, and Owen wants Abby to get her gear because he wants to show her something. Because he looks like he's been in the snow and he's been outside. He's like, "Where have you been? You looked at me." He's like, "Pack your bags. I'm going to show you something." but Owen keeps it a secret until he shows her. Again, we are not told at this point or time that they have found Joel and they're camping out to get him. Just kind of a what's going on. So Abby says to Owen, says, you did this all in the dark? Because this is, I'm guessing, pretty early in the morning, about, 6, 7 a.m. Okay. So, let's see where I'm at here. So Owen keeps it a secret until she shows her. Again, we are not told at this point that they have found Joel or camping out. Apparently Owen did all this in the dark. Abby mentions to Owen that if we keep going this far, we're gonna be burned out for tomorrow's trip. We don't know where they're going, but the funny thing is they've only been on this trip or this route for 5 minutes. Don't know how you'd be burned out for that. Abby asks how Mel is doing because she's been feeling off, but Owen deflects and says she'll be fine. Abby starts feeling uncomfortable and thinks Owen is starting to act very odd at this very particular moment in time, but Owen doesn't think so. So Abby continues to pursue more questions about Mel, but Owen declines anything she asks regarding Mel. And then we end up getting to this cliff, and we now see that Abby is afraid of heights, but Owen helps her get past it. We have now reached the destination that Owen wants to show Abby, and Abby says, holy fucking shit. It's a fucking city. And Abby can't believe what she's seen and says, have you told anyone? Owen says, I wanted you to see it first. Owen says that he saw an armed patrol go from that town to that outpost over there, pointing in directions of where he saw them. But remember now, Owen did all of this in the dark. So I don't know how he saw patrols at all and should have only seen just the city lights from what they saw from their point of view. So God knows how he saw the armed patrols and why they were doing patrols at night. Because we never do, even during the flashbacks, that they do patrols at night. Because we have a flashback with Tommy and Ellie shooting some infected. Looks like Ellie's trying to blow up some scene. I think Ellie just wanted to come with. I don't think Tommy's on the patrol. I think he's doing it by himself. I don't know where they are. They're just kind of just shooting some shit off, gone away, but they're never doing anything on at night. I think that'd be dangerous. That's when most of the infected come out anyways, right? So I don't know why they're running patrols at night, because they never do. So Owen says that they have electricity and guns. That's his observation. He says you can clearly tell they have electricity from the city lights, but how do you know they have guns? Again, we are just supposed to assume that Owen got up close to this fortress without getting caught? Seems pretty doubtful. So Owen says, assuming he's in there. Hold on, I want to make sure I'm skipping this. So Owen knows that there's a lot of people, and Abby just says we can figure it out. So then Owen says, well, assuming he's in there, how do we get to him? Now this is where it gets contradicting, because you're meaning to tell me that Owen saw the guns from that far away? What did Owen see? Did he just look at this point of view and went back to the lodge to wait for Abby to wake up to show her something, or what happened? So after Owen asks his questions to Abby, Abby starts thinking irrationally, stating, we can corner one of the patrols and get confirmation, and then, I don't know, maybe find a way to lure him out. This him, again, is supposed to be Joel. Owen then says, yeah, okay, I'm sure they'll be happy to just offer that information right up. Abby, again, thinking irrationally, just says, well, then we'll make them. Yes, Abby, because that's not going to draw attention at all. You're freaking pounding down these people, shooting them, whatever it is. Come on. Really? Owen then looks confused and amazed at what Abby is saying and says, do you hear yourself? So then Abby gets all defensive and says, okay, so what do you want to do? Owen doesn't really know either from the looks of it, so then Abby asks, what's going on with you? Owen seems hesitant on wanting to answer, but just states, Mel's pregnant. So Abby looks shocked and disgusted and says, oh, okay. Owen interrupts and says, it's not just that. Abby is disgusted at this point and says, should I say congrats? And Owen continues to persist and says, when everyone else sees us, they're just going to want to turn back. So Owen goes off and randomly tells Abby that Mel is pregnant, but then just to say to the rest of the crew that it isn't going to like what they see. So I think at this time, in this moment, Owen is actually concerned about Mel's safety and doesn't want Mel to die in this whole tragedy that's going on with this hunt for Joel. But we find out later when this takes in present time that it doesn't even seem like these two fucking click at all. But why is he caring here about the safety of him? But then later on, he's just like, me and Mel don't really seem to really care about that much to each other. All right. So, continuing on. So now Abby seems unsure and tells Owen, we can convince them though, right? We can convince that team. We can convince our crew. Why don't we not do that? That seems easy. So now Owen just thinks it isn't worth it with the group we have, and Abby gets upset saying, I fucking knew I couldn't count on you. And Owen says, Abby, I want what you want, but I just don't want to have it at any cost. Which means it isn't worth it if we are going to lose everyone in this whole crew just to kill Joel. That's smart. I agree with what Owen is saying. So Abby is just basically fed up with listening to Owen's rational thinking at this point and basically tells Owen to fuck off, and Abby goes off and does her own thing. Because after Owen leaves and says, I'm heading off to the lodge, see back to the lodge, kind of just goes, fuck it, and just leaves. But it's kind of surprising that Owen doesn't see Abby run off, because Owen does tell Abby, see you at the lodge. So going to this location, remember, was linear. There wasn't multiple routes to get to it. So I don't know how Abby, or how Owen didn't see Abby and just leave in the matter of seconds that Abby decided to say, fuck it, is beyond me. Why didn't Owen tell Abby, come on, let's go back to the lodge? And Abby says, get your hands off me, fuck it. If you won't help me, I'll do this on my own. And then Owen says, Abby, wait. And then Abby storms off. God damn it, Abby. And tries to chase down after Abby. And after Abby gets away, so then Owen has to rush and tell her crew that everything happened so they can go venture off to get Abby because she's in serious danger. This could have set up a different scenario for what is about to happen next. So, Abby ventures off, gets attacked by a few infected, but then notices some horse tracks. She wonders where the patrol could have gone, but again, this could have been a patrol of Dina and Ellie. Another random patrol. Who knows, honestly? I'm just guessing with these horse tracks. Were fresh though, but that really doesn't make sense regardless, because she found them so close to a viewpoint they saw of a city earlier. Much of the area, so now I say, how much of the area are they patrolling? How much of the area are they patrolling? This is a big fucking area, man, a big fucking area. So how much of it are they patrolling? So we go back to Dina and Ellie on patrol. As they are on patrol, they just have random banter. Run into a few infected, find a weed bunker, which I'm guessing belonged to Eugene, whoever that character is. He was good friends with Tommy and the rest of the community. We know that much. Oh, and also they have sex. Can't forget that. So again, I don't really know where Joel, Ellie, Dina, or Tommy are even stationed at, because even during one of their patrols, Ellie is looking through binoculars saying, or it's actually Dina that says it and says, yep, that's where the next big tower is. That's our next place we go. But when Abby and Owen are looking at that same town that Ellie is looking at through her binoculars, they assume that Joel is living there. So they would have been wrong regardless if they even went into that town. They would have had to just randomly run into him. So it doesn't even seem like they even make it to that town, because then they end up stopping at random abandoned houses, killing affected, looting whatever they can find. And a blizzard is coming in. Dina and Ellie, I believe, are still trying to pursue the next lookout. They saw through the binoculars earlier. So then Ellie starts getting worried about the blizzard and says, where are we going? And Dina says, just trust me. We see that it looks like an abandoned library, and they proceed inside. We continue to learn more lore about Eugene, I guess. So apparently this library is like a hidden bunker, and apparently it's Eugene's hideout. And the hidden bunker is stashed with weed. So they make a joint, and God knows how old any of this is, because we never really are told how long ago he died. So Dina really wants to know how good that kiss was from last night, and this kiss is brought up more towards the end of the game. So I did some researching in the regard of the timeline of what's happening right now, but I will go back into that in just a little bit, because you will find this interesting. Another huge plot point that just doesn't make sense. So we go back to Abby now. She's fighting off hordes of infected and just happens to run into Tommy and Joel after they rescue her from almost being eaten up by an infected. Tommy and Joel aren't really sure where all these infected came from, but Tommy thinks they should just head back to the lodge. Whatever that may be. Joel asks Abby if she has a gun, and funny enough, you can actually have your gun out this whole time. So then when Joel asks that question, he just looks like an idiot for asking it. So It's like, oh, she's holding this gun out, she's just doing whatever, and she's been out for like 3 minutes, and then Joel's like, looks directly at her, you have a gun? And Abby's like, yeah. I've had this like, you've been paying attention? What's going on there, Joel? You're not thinking. So as they continue to escape the infected and border off, looks like to be the lodge, Tommy now thinks it's a good idea to tell Abby who they are. Again, you need to remember this. You guys all want to think that Joel is the one that introduced himself. Tommy's just like, listen, this is now the time to just introduce yourselves because we're getting attacked. I want to know your name before we die. He says, I'm Tommy. This is Joel. What's your name? And Abby says, Abby. I don't know why this matters, but this is what happens. So Tommy says, Abby, are you okay? And Abby says, yeah. I mean, clearly she's been okay, Tommy. She doesn't seem to have anything wrong with her. Not really sure why this place was a good place to bunker down when the infected are swarming everywhere. I mean, they're coming from the side of that door over there. They're coming in this, they're banging it. There's no way that they can stay here. So just Tommy doesn't seem like a very good rational thinker, even though before Joel thought it was a good idea to go to this lodge, but then Tommy gets stubborn to stay here, and now Joel thinks it's a bad idea for staying here, even though he agreed earlier that it was. Again, this is the writing so far. I'm not making this up at this point. Go back and play it yourself if you do not believe me. I'm going based off of what I've seen. I'm not nitpicking, I'm just analyzing. Abby then thinks that it's a good place to stay is at their mansion just north of here. She says it's fenced in, we have the whole perimeter secure. Now this is where it gets a little confusing for me. You can clearly tell that they have many hideouts when this shit hits the fan, right? I mean, from what we saw with Ellie earlier, from what we saw with the binoculars, they have a huge area to cover. How did they miss this mansion just north of all this? But wait, it's cleared up because Joel says, thinks, and he goes, that's the Baldwin place. I think that could work. So let me get this straight. You're meaning to tell me that Joel never questions why this group, the WLF crew of Abby's, took over the Baldwin place? Why wasn't Joel like, the Baldwin place? How the hell did you get in there? Tommy says, I don't think this is the time or place to be asking this type of question, Joel. And Joel says, no, shut up, Tommy. Who are you? And what did you do with the Baldwins? And then Abby begins to panic and storms out of where, getting away and returning back to camp. Abby then tells her crew she found Joel, but couldn't get him to come back here because he felt like something was off. Again, another scenario where things could have gone so differently. So we return to Ellie and Dina, where it looks like they could have just got done fooling around. Or they just did. I shouldn't say could have. They were definitely fooling around. And apparently Jesse finds Dina and Ellie in this bunker. Now remember how big this library was and how big Eugene's hideout is. And somehow Jesse just had a sneaky suspicion that Ellie and Dina were here. I mean, not really. He was kind of just saying, is anybody there? And he didn't really know. Just kind of happened to go, what, you guys are here? What are you doing there? You guys are supposed to be on patrol. But again, remember how big this area was. Go back and play it if you haven't already. Now, you could make the case. Well, he tracked the horse's footprints. In a blizzard? Last time I checked, snow covers up tracks fast in a blizzard. And I'm from Minnesota, and I know how quickly snow can pile up here. The argument could also be made, well, maybe Jesse was on patrol and saw the horses outside and knew Dina and Ellie were in there and they wanted to make sure that they were okay while he was on his own patrol. Well, there's two things wrong with that theory. One, they never do patrols alone, and two, they brought the horses inside from the blizzard because you really think a horse is just gonna chill outside in a blizzard? Also, since they do patrols together, why is Jesse on his own then? A lot of questions aren't answered here. So Jesse catches Dina and Ellie fooling around, and Dina is upset with Jesse because the reason that they were down here was because there was a blizzard outside. So then Dina interrogates Jesse and says, why weren't you on your own lookout then? And I guess the reason why is he was wandering off because Joel and Tommy never returned from their patrol. He says he waited for an hour and I was looking for their horses when I saw lights. I don't know what he means by that. And does he mean the lights in the building he is in now? What lights? There is a blizzard outside. You can't see anything within 5 feet in front of you. I don't understand what that part means. So, Abby, Joel, and Tommy get back into the cabin safely. I guess all the infected are burned, no more are gonna pursue, and everyone just goes inside and I guess everything is safe. It's kind of like, oh, that was the last chunk of it. We did it. Woo! We made it, boys. Let's go. Woo, 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 woo. So, right now, Tommy and Joel are grateful, but nobody but Abby knows Tommy and Joel's name. Her crew just assumes these are fellow people, I guess a part of their group? Or from some other area they're hiding to help them out. Again, this contradicts the whole, I guess these are the people murdering the Baldwins, because remember that. They seem safe. Who knows? So when Owen pulls Abby aside and says, you are nothing but lucky, Abby says, you have no idea. The reason she says that is because she can't believe she just found Tommy and Joel that easy. Right? Owen asks Abby, where the fuck have you been? And who are these people? I'm going, seriously, Owen? You don't know where Abby went? Do you not remember the last convo that you had? You two basically just talked about the city that you found, and you never once considered asking, are you stupid for running off like that? What the hell is wrong with you? Tommy then asks her crew, how long have you been? Or how long have you been here? Manny says, since yesterday. Okay, so clearly this gives me the impersonation that these guys bunker up and travel to different hideouts each day because remember the WLF is from Seattle and Joel and Tommy's settlement is from Wyoming. Joel gets this sneaky suspicion, goes, yesterday? What are y'all doing out this way? One of her crew says, oh, we're just passing through. You two live nearby? So again, reiterating what I just said, her group does not stay at one hideout at a time. So apparently her crew killed the Baldwins. No one cares. Got it. So after that question was asked, Tommy answers with, we do. Just a few hours down the hill. Y'all should come back with us. We're stocked before you head out. And then Mel says, appreciate it. Mel introduces herself. And now this is the scene. Now in this scene, I want to know, this is where we're going back to timelines, okay? Because this is where it gets kind of confuddled and weird because they clearly don't know the definition of a timeline of what a woman looks like when they're pregnant, especially the woman of her size of Mel. But in this scene, Melon's not showing yet. So we now know that this isn't current day because you remember in Seattle day 1, she is clearly bigger. And so what I mean, okay, so what I do want to mention about the timeline on here where it takes place, there is a moment during one of Abby's flashbacks where it states 4 months earlier. And this is while she was on a midway point on Seattle day 1 to look for Owen because Owen never returned from one of his patrols with Danny. A patrol for these guys is more like hunting down scars, seraphites, and getting them off their territory to be clear. So in this case, it was Isaac ordering Danny and Owen to run a sweep over down by the marina. Danny returns to the bullet stomach and they give him no treatment whatsoever. Isaac just talks to him until he dies. So Abby knows Owen really well and assumes that he is at the aquarium. We know this because he states it in another flashback when we are first introduced to Abby and Owen's relationship with how flirty they act with each other when they are on the Ferris wheel that later on we find out that he discovers an aquarium and ends up making it his home. It's basically a getaway from their campsite. So Manny ends up helping Abby sneak out even though Isaac ordered Abby not to. So after these scars basically intercept Abby and bring her to their hideout, we have this flashback. For a reminder, all these flashbacks are either because they have to go to sleep or because they get knocked out by something. So Abby decides to stop into Owen's hideout to basically tell Owen how there were some fireflies that were picked up by the WLF who worked for Tommy and now knows the location of where Joel might be. Owen doesn't seem on board even though everyone else is, and Isaac also approves it. Again, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I do want to show you an example of bad writing. This is why I'm bringing this up, all right? Because bringing this up quick before we continue with Joel's death scene, because anything leading up to it. But anyways, when Mel introduces herself, Tommy introduces himself, and Joel introduces his own self, and everyone's like, Joel, the only Joel in the whole world? Joel says, y'all act like you're hurt of something. And Abby says that's because they have, and blows his kneecap off, and Tommy screams no, and then gets knocked out with a few hits to the butt of the gun by none other than Nora herself, and Abby starts barking orders. So if you missed what I just said about the timeline, there was a 4-month earlier moment. So you mean to tell me when Seattle Day 1 starts for them, for Abby, she's a fucking, she's skinny, okay? If anything, and I want to reiterate this and make this very, very clear, I talk about it right here, mentioning in fact the timeline with Abby on Seattle Day 1 and how big Mel actually is. Nobody is that pregnant at 4 months, and my wife didn't even start showing with our child until about 8 months, especially the woman of her size. So no one corrected Neil, especially how on women, and how it's beyond me. No one was like, you do know that women aren't that big at 4 months, right, Neil? You know that, right? And they're just like, just put it in. No one's gonna notice. Come on. If you're gonna make a masterpiece, at least kind of do your research, you know? Kind of try, you know, to make sense of this. This is where a 10 out of 10 is very hard for me to believe. So Joel has no idea who Abby is or who this group is. Abby crouches down and looks at Joel and says, Joel Miller. And Joel asks Abby, who are you? While being pinned up by 2 other members of the WLF. And Abby then responds with, yes. Joel just looks at the 2 guys who have been pinned up to the wall and then proceeds to submit to Abby's will and says, why don't you say whatever you got rehearsed and get this over with? Also, what's really funny about this scene is that originally Owen is holding the handgun to point at Joel, and then Abby gives Owen her own shotgun. Why the hell does Owen need a handgun and a shotgun? Why are they pinning him up to the wall? It's not like he can't get away that easy. So the funniest thing of all random things happen. Abby then gets a golf club from a golf club bag that happens to be just down in the basement over in the corner. Not really sure why the Baldwins have their golf clubs out during the winter, or her crew are bringing golf clubs with them during their travels in a snow winter, but okay. I mean, so Abby instructs the 2 people who are pinning him against the wall to clear out. And Joel is just sitting there like, I'm fucked, man. Owen has a shotgun pointing at him. He knows his life's over. And anyways, Abby just responds back by saying, you stupid old man, you don't get the rust this, and smacks him across the head with the golf club. It took me about a little over 20 minutes to explain, right? You go back and you play that and you tell me how I'm wrong. And you tell me how that shit's bad writing or good writing, please. Because I'm not nitpicking. I'm just trying to just be realistic here. There's a lot of flaws, just like that example that I just read to you, that transcript, and my thought process while watching that scene, from the moment of having Abby all the way up to that, and that is a perfect example of the writing in this game. So when you say that this game is great and this game has an amazing storyline, tell me why this was good for you. Tell me why this scene was awesome. Tell me why this scene was done well, because some people do believe that, and I want to know. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I did the fucking research here, man. I did the fucking research. I looked, man. I looked. I dug deep. I have count for you right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pages of notes. Yeah. You may call me whatever and say, oh, so you read shit off. You ain't legit. You read shit off. You're not good at this. Whatever. That's fine. Think what you want to think. That's okay. Oh, you were reading stuff the whole time. It's scripted. Did my research, though. And I looked it up. I did a lot of good thinking. Understand that this is almost a 2-hour discussion, and I didn't want it to run this long, but it ends up happening that way because this game is very hard to discuss if you want to be thorough and make your point across, especially for something that's as passionate as this game. It's not an easy game to just kind of cut off because you will miss some things, and you will. But I did want to get this out there, and I did want to get this all out there in the open. I can discuss the characters, I can go over the sides of them and what I liked about them. I can say what I did or didn't. But at this point, I think you understand where I sit. and it's mostly about the writing of this game. Story driven on it is just not good. But if you wanted me to give you a total review of this game and tell you everything about this game, I say it's a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. And I'm going based off the story, not the game. And you should too. You should go off of this for the game. Story driven. I explain a couple of scenes that maybe not a lot of people talk about. I talk about that whole scene between Abby and Owen before they have sex. I talk about the Yara and the Lev quest. I talk about the Joel death scene in great depths. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to know your thoughts if you do happen to watch this video. I'd like to know if you disagree with anything that I say. I know there's a lot to cover. You may have to go back and read it one more time and listen to me. But that's my thoughts. And I do feel a lot better getting out there and talking about it, because I got my opinions done and I feel good about it. Appreciate you guys all watching if you did stick through until the end. Still undecided if I'm going to give these little time marks and do all these things, because I don't know if that's going to be more work for me or not. I'll have to obviously do some research and things like that, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I may do some more of these discussions down the road. I don't plan on doing them for every hot game that comes out. I think the next one that I may discuss is probably Cyberpunk, when that comes out in November, even if it does. But until then, see you guys when I see you guys, if this does ever happen. Otherwise, enjoy the VODs that I post here, or the best moment clips. You guys all be safe. Be humble. Do what you do best. Out of here. Peace.